B3 himself, the one and only.
How you doing?
And you have your drum company here. You've been doing it for a few years. I was surprised last time I had saw you only did snare drums. It was a few years ago, and you've got a whole booth here today.
Well,
so.
thank you. Yes, I started 9 years ago with just snare drums, but now we've moved into wood shell snare drums as well as full kits.
Yeah.
So we're doing some beautiful new finishes here, and
Bob,
all these sparkles are not. We don't use any wraps.
Oh wow.
They're all spray-on paint finishes.
Nice.
So we're just very excited to have the level of quality that we're doing.
Yeah, we shared a room with Bobby T's warm-up up there, and he had one of your kits, so we got to hear it while we were putting together, and it sounded phenomenal in that room, so I was real impressed.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to go with a real live resonant sound, so we went with a thin 6-ply, but it's the thinnest 6-ply in the market.
Wow.
It's about the same thickness as a 3-ply. But
Can we pull out one of those shells and have you hold it out here for Eric's going to fly in here and we'll hold it up for him. But yeah, it's a gorgeous finish.
Yeah, this is the mahogany maple, and we cut the air vent hole extra large and then put the 3 badge over it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that coincides with the aluminum shell drum, which has the 3 cut through the shell. And this is the aluminum shell. And the 3 originally I thought looked cool, but it turns out to be a bigger vent hole.
Yeah.
So it gives the bottom head a quicker response to the snare. And everybody loves these drums live and in the studio. So I'm very happy with everybody's responses, including sound men. You know, they're just loving them.
It's great to see your family back in the business, man. I love it.
Thank you. And speaking of family, I'm happy to have both my daughters here helping out at the booth.
Nice.
And
I think last time I saw them, they were like this tall, and it's I'm aging, Bill. That's what I'm learning.
Well, this was them 9 years ago.
Oh my God.
And now they're bigger, but it's great to have it, as you said, the family and keeping the tradition alive.
Yeah, it's the 4th generation there, over there. So,
yep, exactly.
It's really great.
Exactly.
And so this is your full kit. Can we look at that?
Sure.
This is something I hadn't seen before this weekend. So.
Yeah, this is, again, these are the 6-ply maple mahogany shells, thin.
That's a cool finish.
Yeah, this is a multicolored sparkle we call Galaxy.
Yeah.
But it's not a wrap, it's a paint on. And it's just beautiful, as is the silver sparkle. It's traditional finish.
Yeah.
But everybody.
I didn't see the top hat and cane.
Well, that was one of my first edition snare drums that we didn't continue doing.
Yeah.
But I just brought it out to show it for the heck of it, just for the tradition factor. But then the other new one we have is this black one, is a brass shell with black nickel over it.
Yeah.
So black over brass. Yeah. Sound familiar?
It does. Yeah.
So everybody's loving the sound of that drum also.
Yeah, this is so cool, man. It's been, like I say, I ran into you a few times over the years with it, and I feel like every time I come back, it's just grown and grown and grown. So it's so cool to see you doing this.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, you were, when I was talking to Bobby, he said, we were talking about how he's known you since you were artist relations back, back in the day. Yeah. You've been, you've been in this a while.
Well, and also my tagline is the sound of generations. Mainly talking about my grandfather and father and now myself, but also people like Bobby and I for that long. I'm also working as an endorser with Kofi Baker.
Yeah.
And I worked with Ginger Baker for 30 years.
Yeah,
and
we were at Paul Reed Smith a few months ago, and Paul said the music industry is an industry of relationships, and that's so true.
Exactly.
Years ago, some of the weird little tiny comments I heard from your dad stuck with me about things like vintage. One time I was, somebody was asking questions about serial numbers and why they weren't in order, and he goes, we just grabbed them out of a bin. We didn't think anyone would care. And I, as someone who sells musical instruments, I think back and go, they didn't. They were just trying to sell stuff out the door. You look at this stuff really detailed, and I try to remember that guys like that were in the pits building it from nothing.
Right. Well, one of the classic things that my father said at a convention was a guy comes up to the booth and says, "You changed the screws on the bottom of the Speed King pedal. Why?" And Dad said, "Well, after extensive research, we discovered that these new screws increase the speed and the efficiency of our pedal." And the guy went, "Oh," and he walked away happy. And I looked at Dad and said, "Really?" And he goes, "No, we ran out of the other screws."
Real quick, I was telling these guys, this is the first time I ever met your dad. I was like 17, and Rob had me running the door at this show when it was in that fair building.
Yeah.
And your dad pulled up front, and I went out and argued with him to move his car, and he goes all the way to the back, and he walks up, and he's sweating. It's like an 80-degree day, and Rob comes up and goes, "Bill, why did you park out there?" And he goes, "This young man told me to." And that was the day I learned who your father was. And he goes, "Don't yell at him. He's doing his job." And that was the day I met your father, and it stuck with me. He was not mad. He just walked all the way back, and I felt about this big. And and he had a good sense of humor. He was a good guy.
He did. Thank you for saying that.
No, I appreciate it. I love to see the tradition live on. I'm really happy to see how you've been doing it. You've been doing a great job with it. So.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank